Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett stresses that Jerusalem is not going to wait on the world to act against Iran. Outgoing IDF Ground Force Commander Major General Yoel Strik says that Israel's enemies have a good number of reasons to be concerned over Israel's preparedness for war. The Iranian project Hezbollah is seemingly obstructing an ongoing investigation into last year's devastating Beirut port explosion. Israel is on the forefront of the global struggle against radical Islam, with key focus on the malign policies exerted by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Speaking to the annual conference of the Jerusalem Post Daily, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett highlighted Israel's role as a state situated literally on the front line with some of the worst terror groups worldwide,
in sharing experiences learned, methodologies, technologies, and intelligence with like-minded nations.
Is radical Islam terror, and in particular Iran, but Israel really is on the forefront. We are quite literally surrounded by the worst terror groups in the world. Not figuratively, literally. We've got Hezbollah on our border in the north. We've got Iranian militias on our Syrian border. We've got ISIS in the Sinai. We've got Hamas and Islamic Jihad on our Gaza border. But look, we're having a good day over here. So we're showing, and it's only begun, we're showing the world how you can deal with it. And this ongoing friction teaches us methodologies, technologies, intelligence. You know, day in, day out, almost every week, Israel will call up some European country and say, you know, right now there's a terror squad on this street, in this building, 7th floor, go get them. And the local police goes and arrests a terror squad with explosive. We're saving lives all around the world.
Premier Bennett continued by reasserting the need for the international community to hold the Islamic Republic accountable, while asserting that Israel is not going to wait on the world to act.
Iran's blatantly violating the IAEA commitments. Not even talking about the JCPOA, I'm just talking about the very fundamental commitments. And we're not going to wait. And I expect the global powers to hold them accountable, bring them to the UN Security Council, hold Iran accountable for it. That would be the peaceful route. There are other routes. That's the right thing to do. And I'm going to continue pursuing that over the next few weeks and months.
Meanwhile, yesterday evening, IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi proclaimed that while the battlefield continuously undergoes a dramatic change, the Israel Defense Force is adapting and relentlessly preparing for any scenario. During a ceremony marking a change in command of the IDF ground forces, outgoing Staff General Major General Yoel Strik asserted that the enemies of the Jewish state, who are keenly observing Israel's military capabilities, have a good number of reasons to be concerned.
לאויבינו העוקבים מרחוק, אחר התמורות שחלו בשנים האחרונות בכוחות המתמרנים, יש לא מעט סיבות לדאגה. כאשר נחליט להפעיל את התמרון, בעיתוי שבו יהיה זה הדבר הנכון לעשותו, יפגשו אויבינו, שבנו את תשתיותיהם במרחבים מאוכלסים, בכוחות אפקטיביים, מותאמים וקטלניים, מאורגנים ומצוידים ביכולות מתקדמות ומפתיעות.
General Kochavi, for his part, seized the opportunity to voice his deep appreciation of General Strik, who essentially prepared the IDF for the next upcoming war when the moment of truth arises.
שדה הקרב הנוכחי עבר ועובר שינויים מרחיקי לכת. לא רק מרחב אורבני צפוף, אלא צבאות טרור בהיקף לוחמים גדול, מצוידים בנשק מתקדם ועתירי טילים ורקטות. השינוי שצה"ל עובר בכלל והשינוי שעוברת זרוע היבשה מכוון לתכלית הרלוונטיות. רלוונטיות פירושה אפקטיביות מבצעית. זרוע היבשה בפיקודך יואל מציעה מודל לחימה ושיטות לחימה הנותנות מענה לשינוי העמוק שמתחולל בשדה הקרב. מבחננו העליון הוא השגת התוצאה הרצויה וניצחון על ידי הגדלת ההישג הצבאי, הקטנת המחיר וקיצור משך המלחמה. לשם כך עלינו לייעל שיטות לחשיפת אויב, להשמדת אויב ולמימוש התחבולה בדרך היעילה ביותר.
Turning to Lebanon, where an investigation into the deadly explosion that devastated the port of Beirut last year is faced with repeated obstacles. For a second time since the probe into the deadly explosion was launched, Lebanese lawmakers wanted for questioning have filed complaints against lead investigator, Judge Tarek Bitar, accusing him of not being impartial. The allegations against the judge were made after Judge Bitar issued arrest warrants for two politicians with strong affiliations to the Iranian proxy Hezbollah, who are suspected of involvement in the deadly affair. However, despite repeated calls by the international community and pledges by Lebanese authorities to conduct a transparent investigation, the Iranian proxy Hezbollah refuses to partake and accuses anyone seeking to investigate its members or allies.
بعمل القاضي الحالي هذا عمل استنسابي وعمل سياسي وفي استهداف سياسي وما له علاقة لا بالحقيقة ولا له علاقة بالعدالة. وأنا بقول من أول كلام قبل ما أختم بهذه النقطة لعوائل الشهداء، إذا أنتم متوقعين مع هيدا القاضي أن تصلوا إلى الحقيقة لن تصلوا، وإذا أنتم متوقعين مع هيدا القاضي أن تصلوا إلى العدالة ولو على مستوى القرار الظني لن تصلوا إلى العدالة.
The Hezbollah leader, who spoke from an undisclosed bunker to his followers via video conference, also seized the opportunity to call on Lebanese authorities to seek a U.S. sanctions waiver to allow for imports of Iranian fuel to stream into the country.
بالنسبة للإيراني هناك عرض قديم وهلا في عرض جديد من يومين لما كان معالي وزير خارجية الجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية في بيروت، عرض إنه نحن جاهزين معملين ونطلع كمية معينة وكبيرة ومحترمة وإلى آخره. جاوبوا طلبوا استثناء.
The comments by Nasrallah were made on Monday, merely 3 days after Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian proclaimed from Beirut that Tehran will continue to deliver fuel via smuggling routes to Lebanon and voiced hope that in the immediate future, bilateral agreements will be struck to enable direct imports.
آماده تداوم ارسال سوخت به لبنان هستیم و آماده ایم که در یک توافق با دولت لبنان این مسیر رو تقویت کنیم.
Meanwhile, in Washington, U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price stressed that while the United States continues to urge Lebanese authorities to complete a swift and transparent investigation into the horrific explosion in the port of Beirut, the actions undertaken by Hezbollah do not come as a surprise.
We've long been clear that Hezbollah's terrorist and illicit activities threaten Lebanon's security, stability, and sovereignty. Hezbollah, we believe, is more concerned with its own interests and those of its patron, Iran, than in the best interests of the Lebanese people.
Price further noted, with regard to Iran, while the United States continues to regard the 2015 nuclear agreement with the Islamic Republic as an interest to ensure that Iran is never able to acquire or obtain a nuclear weapon, Tehran's regional activities continue to destabilize the Middle East.
When it comes to Iran's regional activities, we've been very clear, broadly speaking, where we stand. Iran has been a destabilizing actor in many ways, including its support to proxies, its support to other regional actors, its threats and coercive statements more broadly.
It is important to know that the statement on Iran was made as Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid is currently on an official visit in the United States capital for talks on how to contend with the Iranian threat.